Welcome to the Feminine Mistake Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Nicole, and today I'm joined by
Hillary,
Sarah,
and we've also got actress, comedian, and video maker
Morgan.
Pelligrino. Thank you for joining us today, Morgan.
So good to be here. I've always just wanted to say that.
So this month's film is The Pajama Game. Sarah picked this film.
Yes, I did.
So The Pajama Game, 1957, I believe, right?
Yes. Yep.
Doris Day and
John Raitt.
John Raitt.
Yeah, the guy who has no neck, apparently. Wrote
didn't
that a
notice
lot
that.
of times.
Okay, so before we get into a discussion about the film, let's start with you, Hillary. Do you have any experience with The Pajama Game prior to?
No, I did not know anything about it. But then while watching it today, I was like, I know these songs.
You
because
do?
I did high school theater.
Is this like a thing people do in high school? Can you
yeah.
do this play?
Yeah, I think I think some people used it maybe as like audition songs or something like that. Like we never did it as a play.
This was a hit Broadway musical, won best musical in 1954.
I had heard them in some context. I assume it would be high school theater because I don't think.
Perhaps your nightmares?
Yeah, maybe in my nightmares, honestly.
Okay, Sarah.
Okay, so first of all,
you picked this movie. This was your choice.
I grew up loving musical theater. I spent the first 18 years of my life just wanting to be like Gene Kelly and singing, dancing, acting. I majored in musical theater my first year of college. And this is not one of my favorite musicals, but the reason I picked it is because it is the craziest musical I've ever seen. I thought it would be fun to make fun of.
It was crazy.
And discuss it. And like,
it was bananas.
Exactly.
Bananas and bonkers.
Absolutely bananas. So,
yeah. Morgan, had you heard of The Pajama Game?
I have never, no. And, I majored in theater in college. I was a drama kid in high school. And then,
we were all drama kids then.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And never, but I wasn't ever really into musicals, which like kind of set me apart from a lot of the other drama kids. So I don't know like a ton of show tunes, and I did recognize like Steam Heat. I was like, oh, I've definitely heard that song before.
Damn,
and
I've never heard that song
Hernando's Hideaway, is that it?
Well, Hernando's Hideaway is actually the tune of it is a
tango, right?
Tango,
Yeah. Totally a new thing for me.
Completely fresh.
Completely fresh.
Fresh view.
Yeah.
View. I had never seen this movie. I feel like I'd heard of it like in the world. I actually thought it was about like a sleepover maybe. Like as I was watching it, I found myself like disappointed by both the lack of pajamas and the lack of games. Like I thought there was
100% agree with that.
I really feel like the advertising is
It's
a little
misleading.
false.
Yeah.
So I was a little disappointed by that. So I guess I thought that that's what it was about, but it was not. I have never seen a Doris Day movie. I've heard of Doris Day, and now let's get into it.
You seem sort of distant.
Let's just do it, man. You look stupid and rich.
The house is a mess, Jack. The kids are a mess, Jack. You're a mess, Jack.
You have been a total bitch ever since you came to New York. Fascist.
All right, let's get into it.
Okay, so let's get into our discussion about the film The Pajama Game, 1957. Sarah, can you throw us some facts, some hot facts right now?
It was, hold on.
Hot facts.
It was a Broadway musical first in 1954, directed by George Abbott and Jerome Robbins, and choreographed by Bob Fosse. And this was actually his first show.
This is his first film?
His first his first choreographing of a show.
Bob Fosse is a big deal, right? I mean, I've heard of Bob Fosse.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he danced first, and he was a dancer in a 40-second bit of a song in Kiss Me Kate, the film, and he choreographed his own bit, and he was so unique and new and fresh that they hired him to choreograph this show based on that less than a minute of screen time, and the choreography in this is not. It has some elements of the style that he would later make him famous, but Steam Heat is the one that is like the quintessential Bob Fosse with like the bowler hats and the suits and the way
it's like
that
kind of androgynous. I guess we'll get to that, but So this was the 1950s. No women in the above the line creative team, so to speak.
No, unless it was like makeup and costumes
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's get started here right at the beginning. So we start out in what seems to be a women's sweatshop.
Yeah,
Right?
that's what I said too.
Seems to be where we start. And there's some
Yeah.
kind of opening song, right? I've
Hurry
written
up.
down opening song.
Hurry up.
Hurry
It's,
up.
when you're racing with the clock.
When you're racing with a clock.
But actually,
clock.
the opening credits were the Pajama Game.
Oh, right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
they're in the pajama game. Which at
Right.
first I was like,
That
what does that
Vernon's
mean?
singing.
It's like
I thought they were maybe making fabric. Like I didn't fully
Yeah.
grasp
Get
what
it
it was
right
they were
there.
doing at first. But they are making pajamas.
Yep.
Yeah.
they're in the Pajama Game.
They're in the pajama game.
Yeah.
Which is
Who hasn't been in the pajama game?
Right?
at one time or another.
Yeah. We've all been there.
And this was actually based on a book called 7.5 Cents.
Okay.
I noticed that, yeah. And it wasn't
Yeah.
the book written by the same person that wrote the screenplay or something?
The
or?
play.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So it was a
But not the
book
music.
and then a play and then a movie. Wow.
And the movie was so closely adhered to the stage production that they used the exact same cast, like all of the same cast.
I was wondering if some of those people were stage actors because they
Yes.
were not
Yeah.
people I
All
recognized
of
from
them,
Hollywood.
except for Doris Day. They were like one of the
Really?
leads has to be.
And you've
a
got some
Hollywood
information
star.
about that, and we'll get into that
Yeah,
later.
yeah.
Okay, so we start out in the factory.
Well, what's his name? Sid walks in.
Right,
don't
we
know
start
that
out with this
yet.
close up on
Yeah,
Sid's
and he,
face,
like,
of
walks
the main
in,
lead actor.
and he's turning heads. Everybody in the shop is like, "Oh, who's this hunk?"
Which
Even though I was like, "Who's this necklace monster?"
I mean, I did not
This
find him
necklace,
attractive
a
this
cupcake
entire
vacuum.
movie.
I
I
have screenshots to prove it. I took screenshots of the movie. I was like, "This man does not have a neck. He needs to go see a
His
chiropractor."
physiology was troubling.
He just looked
I
like
feel
he'd been
like.
squished down in his life.
His pants were up far too high for my
Yeah.
liking. And everything was like, I feel like his clothes were all just maybe like 1 to 2 sizes too small.
Yeah, it was like they took in the
That was
waist on
50s
pants that were too
stuff.
large.
But it wasn't even like, I mean, I've seen movies from the 50s before, but it was almost like, you know, they put he had the costume and then like a week later, like he maybe grew a little bit and it was just like slightly too tight. It was a little disturbing.
I
It
was
looked uncomfortable
too
to me.
offended by like his personality to notice.
He was
costume.
revolting.
He was
That
very
too, yeah.
abrasive.
Abrasive. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Not
excellent.
attractive
Yeah,
at all. Like
description.
not besides his looks, he was just really aggressive and domineering and creepy.
He was like there was nothing
really
likable about him, and his
creepy.
acting was very wooden. Like so, he's a stage actor.
Stage actor.
Okay, well, when the camera gets a little closer, like I feel like his acting was very wooden. Like I don't know, maybe on stage that voice, like you listen to because the voice wasn't
Yeah.
bad.
Right.
It sounded very operatic to me, but like he had I feel like he had zero personality other than
No
aggressive.
charisma.
That's
Yeah.
what I feel about
No
all the
charisma.
characters in it. They were all just like, "Hey, John, let's go to the store."
Yeah.
Just like
And that-
everybody was like a
Hillary's
little
doing the robot right now.
And
for
the-
you who
and
can't
that-
see at home.
That was the main criticism of this movie when I read the review was that it seemed just like the play and didn't seem to capitalize on the fact that this was film.
This is very much like I went to see a play. Somebody stuck a camera in front of a bunch of people. They all lined up in front of me, and they were performing this.
Yeah,
thing.
the only numbers they changed were was Once a Year Day and Hernando's Hideaway. Was
Yeah, that one had some
maybe not for
cinematic
the
moments.
best.
I think
It was terrifying.
it was. It
Yeah.
was. We'll get there. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was like fucking nightmarish.
Like,
It's nightmarish
I'm
is the
to go
end.
to sleep tonight. Like, I think I'm going to sleep with my lights on.
Just in case like there's like people with candles waiting
Yeah,
under
just,
your
like,
bed.
waiting.
I actually began to think, and I know we're probably spending a lot of time talking about the male lead here. What's his name again?
The
the
actor's name
name
is
is-
John Raitt, and his name
and
is
is
Sid
Sid.
Sorokin.
Sid. Again, least sexy name ever.
Yeah.
ever.
Like the creepiest name
Sid.
ever.
Sid Sorokin is
And like I don't
Necklace PI.
Nicholas P.
I don't understand why that kind of man is attractive.
Well, I think we'll get into it because I think the movie does put forth a very specific idea of what being a man is, which seems unfair to men, and what is desirable, I think. Like it is very clear about what that is. And I think he's supposed to fit into that mold. But I think where they miss the mark is that he is not charismatic at all. So I actually watched this movie twice because the first time I was like, oh, please kill me. So the second time I watched just the musical numbers on YouTube, and I began to think like, if the male lead were someone like Hugh Jackman or Chris Hemsworth or somebody like that has some charm, like would I be able to tolerate
I thought about
his
that too.
antics a little bit more?
Yeah.
Frank Sinatra was actually offered the role. He turned it down.
Oh, that's a shame.
That might have been more
Might have been a
tolerable.
different movie.
Yeah, I mean, they just had no chemistry at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, no.
And
Yeah.
so it didn't feel, I wasn't swept away. And, well, I don't know how much we want to get into that right now.
No, I
but-
think this is a good time to talk about it because the whole movie revolves around this.
Yeah.
You know, their chemistry.
Yeah.
Which just, felt very forced.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched a lot of musicals, and it is true that like the acting is not as important in musicals. Like it's more about the singing, dancing, the like the colorfulness, the brightness, the
The costumes were
Oh,
Right.
the costumes were amazing.
I was a great singer and dancer in high school.
I was not good at either.
I had
can
a
sing.
horrific musical audition in high school that just traumatized me.
So you never tried again?
Never. I mean, I think I did one more time later on a couple years ago, and
Nice.
it was just awful. And so it's like, that never again.
Because I was gonna say, I feel like you could like rock. What is that? Hernando's Hideaway. Like I could totally see you
I
just
would
rocking
love
the
that.
shit out of
I
Hernando's
would love
Hideaway.
to do it. I would love. Because I love to dance, and
Yeah.
but the singing, if I had a voice, wasn't blessed
Yeah.
with the voice.
Me either.
All right, so back to this movie that we watched.
Okay.
So
First-
Sid
Yeah.
and Sid marches his necklace body into the office,
Everybody's
where
like, oh, so sexy.
the boss, who I really feel like personifies the term blowhard,
And his name is Hassler.
Hassler.
Oh, God.
He basically storms in and, without any real qualifications, seemingly sort of demands to be given a job. Is that kind of what happens?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was a quick thing. Like, I was like, all right, you start now.
It didn't seem like he had a resume or references. It was just
Yeah.
kind of
He
like,
was like walked in and was like, I'm awesome. And I was
Give
like,
me
that's
that- when are
white
you
male
gonna give me
privilege
this
right
job?
there.
And he just gave it to him.
Yeah, you're a man. You can do that.
Superintendent. Exactly. You're a man.
and is then we get the song about
Well, first we learn that the women, or not just the women, but the factory workers wanted a 7.5 cent pay increase.
right,
Yeah.
they want to pay increase, and they talk about it during the song. They talk about how they can't afford a car, even the crappiest car, and basically like everyone else in the pajama industry, or the pajama game, if you will, everyone else in the factories. I don't know how many pajama factories are in this town, but they've all received some kind of 7-cent raise, except for this factory.
It's actually not the other pajama factories. This is
factories in general.
Factories in
okay.
general. So different industries, different games.
Got it. Different
Other
games.
games.
The cinder block game, the hot dog game,
Exactly.
the chewing gum game,
All those games.
all the games. Okay.
We're introduced to
Hurry Up is that song. Or
Gladys.
I don't know what the song is called, but I called it Hurry Up because that seems to
That's
be
all they say.
Yeah.
called Racing with the Clock. And we're introduced to Gladys and
Right.
Vernon Hines.
Right. So they have some kind of thing going.
Yeah.
And I feel like everybody's really like, I feel like there's a lot of slut shaming going on with Gladys in this
yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She's like pegged as and I said pegged again, Hillary. I did.
I know. I heard it. I wanted to make a
She
comment.
seems to be pigeonholed as the easy girl at the factory.
Yeah, she's like the sassy comedic sidekick, I guess, kind of character. Like
Yeah.
musicals have, like these archetypes, these stereotypical characters, and she's like the comedic female, like supporting lead to Doris Day.
I really liked her though.
Yeah.
The actress. Morgan is making a face.
Oh no, I mean,
Okay.
out of all like the whole cast, like she was definitely one that I was like, all right, she has a lot of talent too. I mean, like she was dancing and singing all over the place, and she's funny.
Yeah.
I think she was the most tolerable.
Well, I
Yeah.
feel like the women characters in general seem to have more personality and charisma than any of the male characters in the movie. Like they stood
sure.
out to me. Like I actually liked generally that it seemed like, although there were some attractive women in the cast, it seemed like generally a lot of them looked like normal, like real people,
Yeah.
and it was not like just a bunch of, beautiful faces. Like they were different shapes and sizes. Like I appreciated that.
Yeah.
I don't think that would happen today in a mainstream, like big
Although
budget
there were
movie.
some comments about some of them, like the two
Yes.
overweight women, there were a few like suggestions that like, oh, no man would flirt with you, like
That did happen. So we get introduced to Gladys and Vernon. Vernon seems to be he's not the superintendent, so I guess he's some kind of supervisor. He's always shouting at everyone floor manager.
He
He's like the efficiency
man.
I feel like they just make up jobs in this movie.
No, it wasn't one of the guys titled like the helper.
What the?
Yeah,
I'm not really clear on what people's jobs are so much in this movie. Yeah,
I couldn't understand a word they were singing, and I tried to find a way to do closed captioning because I'm terrible at understanding words in musicals.
No, they were difficult to understand a lot at the time.
Like, I feel like this might be important plot information. I don't know, and I don't think there was any information.
Typically, songs don't have crucial plot information unless they're like Stephen Sondheim. Usually, musicals are just like, let's take a break and sing a song.
Yeah, let's talk about
which
this
they
more.
did a lot in this movie.
Yes,
I was like, another fucking song?
Right.
Seriously? I mean, I know this is a musical, but
Every
come
few
on,
minutes.
guys.
Just tell us. You
Take
just
it down a
talk.
notch.
Yeah, you don't need to sing and dance at all.
Right.
I feel like if the musicals numbers were better, I would be okay with it a little bit more. But they were all just kind of like, meh,
Yeah, they did not dazzle me.
do anything. Yeah.
Okay, so at the end of the day, Sid is underneath some kind of machine trying to fix it, I guess. I feel like somebody should have that job, but whatever. So he's under there fixing, and then he gets into some altercation with one of the employees and pushes him, right?
And it was his weak arm.
His weak arm, yes. And he immediately seems like an enormous, like just like a complete dick. Like, and it seems like, I feel like in this scene, we're supposed to feel like he's a strong man and the other guy's like a weak weenie, but I'm just like,
You're a bully.
you're a bully.
He's a bully.
Yeah. You're a bully,
Definitely.
and I don't care for your managerial style, was kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Not appealing.
No.
I don't feel for him. I'm not attracted to him
No,
as a person.
not at all.
I forget why he pushed him. It just seemed to be like he was annoying him, so he pushed him.
So the reason why he pushed him was he was under there fixing it, and he kept asking for a screwdriver, and the guy wasn't paying attention and was complaining about not getting the 7.5-cent raise. And as we know, he is not for the union, and those guys are both union members, and so they were being defiant in their way of
So
not
it was
helping
sort
him.
of turning into a Trump rally for a second there.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So they were ignoring his request for a screwdriver because they were like, "You're part of the establishment," and then he pushed him over.
Yeah.
Being total establishment douchebag.
Because, sometimes a little force is good.
I know they did say that later, and I was like,
I
know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know the exact quote for that, but
it was
something
very
to that
close.
effect.
It was very close to that. So this leads, I don't know the character's name, the small fellow who gets pushed. He files a
just called the
complaint
helper.
with the grievance committee.
Oh, the grievance committee.
Which I was like, what the fuck is a grievance committee? Is that a real thing that exists?
I did not look that up, but I imagine it might have. But who
Is
knows?
that like HR?
Yeah.
It
Probably,
seems like
probably
maybe.
HR.
But that's Doris Day's job.
Basically, that's who Doris Day is, and
yeah.
Doris Day just walks in, and
She's the committee.
and he like is like, oh, I forget what he says, but it's
Which
it's
was, like,
basically like, oh, you're too
so
pretty to be
barfy.
the grievance committee, or
Yeah.
like that kind of like
He
thing.
says this grievance committee is different, and then once she says, "Okay, we'll investigate this," he says, "Thanks for your cooperation, Miss Williams. You're the cutest grievance committee I've ever had to deal with." And I was like, gross.
Yeah, totally gross. So gross.
And when I first approaches her, she says something like, "Never mind the snow job" or something to that.
Oh yeah,
Well, I think that's
like
like
old
don't
fashioned.
try to like swindle me or don't try to confuse me. I think is what she
I had
was.
never heard that term before.
Oh, my grandma used to use the term snow job all the time. It's when you're like trying to pull something over on somebody. I'm
it's
sorry,
different.
I'm seeing if I have any notes about
I'm
this
gonna sneak that in conversation.
snow job. So we meet Doris Day. I had never like at first I was confused because after this grievance committee thing, there's another musical number, right? She has the song about not being in love with him, which I'm like, they just met. Like,
Yeah.
literally just now.
Nobody's. Why
No,
are
I
we
mean
talking
that
about
was
love already?
Right.
That was like every movie I saw when I was a kid. I mean, even movies today, they're not as like blatant about it, but like I feel like most movies don't let you see why people fall in love, especially in these older like 50s movies and before. Like they don't show like the good qualities that people have. They just show them like arguing, and then they're like, "Oh man, I'm in love with you now."
But it's
Let's
also
get
like
married.
they had again no chemistry. So and there was no flirtation going on. So I essentially the scene ended. I felt like with like she stood her ground in a meeting with a really like guy who was kind of like harassing her in a business situation, and then she walks out and everybody's like, aren't you, you obviously are in love with him. And she's like, no, I'm not. And I'm like, yeah, they just met. Like they literally she just shut the door.
Well, the first line is, all you got to do is say hello to a man and they've got you whispering in his ear. So I think she's, I think probably like at first she doesn't think she's in love with him. But like the more they like sing at her, she's like, well, if you say so,
No, but you're in love, right? You're in love though. You are.
There is a
Other
line
things
where
they say about men here.
There is one line where she says, he's just an inch too sure of himself for me. So I was like, yeah, he's a little too sure of himself. But
do you think that's is that a crack about his penis, you
I
think?
think it was.
It's just an inch too sure. I feel like generally the movie posits that love is something that's violent and aggressive. And I think this is something that comes up over and over again. Like he is
like a sickness.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
disease.
Exactly. And I think men generally are expected to be strong and aggressive and brutish. But then they also mention in this song that when he's sad, he cries. So like I feel like that's a lot of things to expect out of a person.
Yeah.
Like to be this like almost like they often, I noticed in a lot of the songs he refers to his love or himself as like animalistic, like a tiger or something, like fierce like a tiger. And it's like he's supposed to be this like animal, but also sensitive and understanding. And I feel like that's like a lot to ask of a person.
Yeah,
And kind of unfair. So the next scene I think is okay.
Heinze and
Vernon, right?
Vernon Hines
Yeah,
and
Gladys.
Mabel.
Oh,
Mabel. I liked Mabel.
did
I liked Mabel. Okay, so this is a song about trying to rehabilitate a stalker, right? Is that basically
rehabilitate
like
a jealous, possessive person?
what kicks this off?
Gladys goes off to do like her job, and Vernon goes to Mabel and is just like, like the gist of is I'm jealous again, and she's like trying to talk him out of it. And so this song is basically her giving him scenarios to try to incite his jealousy, to test him to see if he is jealous.
Like at what point is it going to turn into a fucking crazy murder?
Yeah.
Maniac.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's put a pin in that one.
Or a knife in it.
And
you will.
Yeah. So they sing the song and they do like a little tap dance in the middle because,
Why not?
domestic violence is hilarious. I feel like they make light of a lot of really serious things in this movie without any self-awareness at all.
I would trust her.
Okay, where did we leave off?
So Babe comes in after he calls her to come in.
Okay, right. Is that her name, Babe?
Okay, that's her nickname. Her name is Catherine, and her nickname is Babe, and everyone just calls her Babe.
All right, so he brings her in, and I'm like, okay, so here's a romantic story for the kids. Mommy and Daddy met over over Daddy abusing an employee.
That's funny.
Right?
Classic.
And he even says, I think physical punishment is good once in a while.
Yeah.
Personally, I think a
Don't
little physical
you?
punishment is good for people. Yeah, every once in a while.
Yeah. And
She's like,
can't
you
look
do?
at him.
And he's like, he tells her to sit down, and he asks her for a date. He's like, how about a date?
Right? And like right away.
Swoon.
And I feel like isn't she like,
She's like,
what?
no.
Yeah.
She
Like,
like
I
looks
feel
at
like
him,
she's like, what?
No. I think that this movie isn't that deep, but I did wonder. I was like, is she saying, no, you have this job and I have this job and we can't do it, to be like polite instead of saying, no, you're a creep?
I don't think so.
I don't
because
think
she
so.
seems like in the song seems that there are things she likes about him.
But isn't it like
his neck was not one of the
throughout
things
the
that she
entire
mentioned.
movie? I just didn't believe that Doris Day
Wouldn't be, shouldn't
liked
be,
him.
I didn't either.
No, not at all.
Like I
Didn't
feel
know
like
that.
Doris Day was probably like, oh, this guy's such a hack.
When he
leaves.
asked, but the way he asked her out also was like really upsetting to me. Just like the way he's just like, go out with me, and she's
He's
like,
always leering.
he like
He's a
Because
leering.
he has no
he's
neck.
a
He,
definite
goes
leerer.
forward and
he
down.
tells her to sit down, and like before he
Like,
asks her out.
hovers over
And then he
her.
like hovers, yeah. And then she like tells him that, and then she leaves. And then there's the song is called "Hey There."
And this is the first song that I knew in this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Hey There was the first song
Which he
that I knew
records
in
on a
this.
tape recorder like a fucking creep.
And then in the
creepy.
second verse, he comments on the recording. that
Yeah,
well,
he,
he
like,
plays
does
it
a
back
duet with
for
himself.
himself.
and
Morgan
like
is making a face.
harmonizes with himself.
That was just. That was when I was like, all right, I had to like step away from.
No,
I have
yes,
to take. I have
this
to
is
take this in
actually-
chunks.
This is
Yeah.
actually the song that I stopped at the first time I watched this movie. I turned to my mom and I was like, are they fucking serious with this shit?
This actor, his face kind of reminds me of that picture of the aggressive penis.
Yes.
What's the aggressive
yes.
The aggressive penis from the Dick Pic Professional that we had in the background. It was like this pointy, erect penis with a bird on it.
Oh, yes.
And it was like very threatening, and I feel like his face reminds me of that aggressive penis. Like it's like the quality of it is just
I wasn't
very...
sure if he was going to murder her or not, and this is also where I first noticed the neck thing, because he just like, I was like, is he trying to headbutt her? Like, why is his neck doing that weird thing? Like, why is his face so far
I feel
out?
like every male character in this movie is
like
capable of murder.
I 100% agree.
Except for the accountant.
Oh
guy.
yeah,
No, he
tall,
seemed all right.
thin
He
guy.
seemed like he should have been in the musical Grease or something, and he got lost and went
was
to the
he
wrong
one with
studio.
he wasn't the one with the
With
big
the glasses,
Oh,
yeah.
but he
Tall,
got so
thin guy.
rapey
Yeah.
at a certain point.
Oh.
Did he?
Oh yeah,
Yes,
Really?
with Gladys.
no, was it with
Oh
Nate?
yeah, no, we'll get to that. I know
yeah.
what you're talking about. That was very disturbing.
so
but yeah,
gross.
I was on his side until then.
I wasn't
Yes.
on his side until then, but all of the other men in this movie are just like immediately I look at them and I'm like, oh no.
Sid's
No,
like
no.
a background character from like a Martin Scorsese film.
Yeah.
Like he should be in like Goodfellas, but just like in the back with his arms folded.
He is like
Yeah.
he should be like Fredo in The Godfather.
I feel like he's not even good enough to be Fredo. Like he's like
no.
one of the guys that's like, you know, helping Fredo out of the car maybe,
Yeah.
or you know what I mean?
And
like
he's the only one with his collar
man.
down because they were like, we'll hide your ears if
Like-
we do that because you have no neck.
If it looks like if you have a collar, it'll make you look more necky.
yeah.
I mean, honestly, he ruins this film
He
for
does.
me.
He totally
like
destroys
he
it.
like single-handedly ruins this
Yeah, it's just
musical.
it's
for me.
terrible.
I feel like that is most of my issues with it is him.
I mean, okay, the movie, the character himself is very misogynistic, I feel like. But if it was coming out of somebody's
Frank
mouth that
Sinatra?
was a little bit more charismatic, it's
Yeah.
not like I'd forgive it, but I would at least
I'd forget
not
about it a
feel,
little bit more.
I just feel like I wouldn't be so like bristly. Like
Yeah.
I would be able to be like, ew, I don't like this,
You
but
know, like
at
the
least I'm
character.
entertained.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Just blah.
The next scene is the picnic.
The picnic, yes.
Oh,
My
my
comment from this
bananas.
is, why the fuck are they all running? It looks like a scene of Jurassic Park. Like they're all like sprinting from a dinosaur, like
It
screaming.
seems like
All
there
the
was,
women are
I
wearing
wrote that down
dresses.
too. Like Godzilla was
terrifying.
going to come up over the hill behind
I was
them.
like, what are they running from?
Anytime I
This
see
is-
people sprinting in street clothes, I'm like, something is after them.
Yeah.
It's a frolic. It's a romp, guys.
They didn't seem like they were frolicking. They
No,
seemed
Mr.
afraid.
Hassler is still yelling.
Yes,
He's
yes.
still screaming.
Getting away.
So
Can we talk about this knife throwing scene?
Why is the drunk man throwing
Why is the drunk man
knives?
throwing knives?
And why are we
is
standing in front of him?
why is this
I'm
okay?
worried
Like why
about
is
their
this an
safety.
entertain? Like why is this This seemed like it seems like everyone in this crowd has a death wish right now.
Yeah.
Like I don't.
They're
know.
they all even seem
Target.
scared too.
Aren't
They
there
were
children there?
like, yes.
Yes.
I don't know why knife throwing is a part of this party at all. Like I feel like
I
knife
think
throwing
it's
is
the
not.
shtick he does though, because they have all the stuff ready. Like I
That's
think
true.
it's just like in his.
He
he's
just
known
happens to be
for
drunk.
it. Yeah, he
Right,
just happens
so
to be
he's
drunk, at
drunk.
this moment.
It's an HR nightmare.
And
It
then
really
Babe
is.
stands in front of him and
like,
puts an app
"Don't
like,
do it."
but I don't understand the motivation. It's like, is she trying to prove to Sid that she's brave? Like,
I feel like he's so unappealing that she'd rather get a knife sunk into her chest than
She's
go on a
just
date
like,
with
I'm
him.
tired of dealing with this guy. Let's go.
Like I really hope
That
this
makes
knife
sense.
hits me right between the eyes.
but it didn't
Yeah.
make sense with the plot at all. It just seemed contrived. It just was like, let's put some knives.
Look at me. I'm
and-
spunky. I can.
yeah, exactly.
I'm spontaneous.
yeah. She didn't seem to have any
And
Everybody seems disturbed, but again,
Yeah,
they're
they're
not
like, "Oh,
disturbed.
babe,
they're like,
don't."
"Oh
Yeah.
God, you're gonna get killed."
You should probably move.
And the first time he throws it, she ducks. And then she pops up and screams, "My apple!" You
Is
have
everyone
so
taking
low
crazy
priorities for your
pills?
life.
Like, why are we?
I think that there was some kind of like acid in the water.
It did seem that way.
Okay, so every movie we've watched so far has a scene where a man grabs a woman and forces a kiss on her.
I don't think Mr. Mom did. I mean, there
No,
was
I
the
think you're
rapey bathroom business with Martin Mull,
yeah, but he
but
never kissed her.
nobody
Forcibly.
force kissed anyone in Mr. Mom
but
that I
almost
I know.
all of them, like
You're
Love
right.
Story,
Love Story did.
Baby Boom.
Yep. What did he force kiss her in this?
Yeah, he
Okay.
like grabbed.
Oh,
like
yeah.
first, he like pushes her up against the tree,
That's
and
not
then
And
she
she
tries to
says
away.
no. She even says no.
Yeah, and then he grabs
he
her.
still
and
grabs
kisses
her and kisses her.
like
with
That kiss was revolting.
Yeah, and it was also that moment was the choice for the DVD menu home screen. That moment,
really.
Ew, really?
yeah, they chose.
So
that,
you had to
which-
keep looking at it over and over again.
Right, they kept replaying that moment over, and I'm like, why? Okay, first off, you're giving away this moment right off the bat in the DVD menu.
like,
this
spoiler alert.
magical,
You really ruined it
beautiful
for me.
moment. Yeah.
I guess they're assuming if you own the Pajama Game that you've
You've
already
seen
seen
it.
it.
Yeah.
Like nobody who hasn't seen it is going to be watching this
Right.
movie. So then they
does-
sing this song. Can somebody explain to me what the Once a Year is about? Because I was like trying to figure out, like, is it like this one, like, because Chris and I were like, is it like once a year he finds a girl and then he goes out with her and then he buries her in his crawl space? Like, what does
the
this
purge,
mean?
like the
It's
like
the
a
purge,
purge,
the purge.
vibe. Like,
It's the company picnic.
Right, but they were all talking about like once a year I'm allowed to flirt with women and kiss their necks that aren't my wife
And chase them up a tree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a lot of
Tree and
chasing
keep
after women and
throwing
them
them around.
screaming
Yeah.
and then like singing once a year. And so
Once,
I was like, once a
a
year,
year,
like,
we
we
have a
can.
gang
I
rape.
think-
Like, is that what
Yeah.
this was about?
I
Like,
That's
think
the vibe I
that
got.
if we ever like if we have to choose, if we had to choose one gif or like clip to
GIF.
show from this movie, it is the moment when he like holds Babe's hand with one hand and goes, "This is our once a year day," and he like
God.
does the arm.
and I thought he
thing.
was gonna punch her
That
like
was
right
the
in the
scariest
stomach.
arm movement ever. I was like, seriously?
I was kind of checking out a little bit at this point. Like, I think I got up to get a drink. Like, I came back. They were still dancing.
Oh man,
Yeah,
the
it got
dancing in
super
this
wacky. It
is
was cool.
crazy. It was
They're
was
like
good- it
rolling
was
down
not
a
bad.
hill.
Like, I liked it.
Yeah.
There's
There
some
were like
acrobatic things going on. Suddenly, everybody
Yeah, no,
was
the-
a
the-
Cirque du
the-
Soleil
the-
member.
the dance in this was the choreography was great in this number.
Was it? Was it?
Where- do
though?
you
It
got
was-
up and got
was
a
it?
drink? Did you
Well, I came
watch
back
it?
and they
It
were
was
still
like
dancing, so I
classic
saw most of it. I feel
musical
like.
theater dancing. Like
I mean,
it was
that's-
really good. It was like
yeah.
any sort of group scene where there's like
This is
everybody
great, like
dancing.
partner dancing, and
Yeah.
you just don't like
Well,
musical
I guess not. I guess
theater
not. I
dancing.
just didn't know what was happening. I didn't know why it was happening.
That's
And
yeah.
it what
Musicals
okay,
are.
here's what I'm confused about. Like, isn't it about them coming together? And yet like they were there at the beginning and then they like disappeared and then there was just like this group dance break.
Well, the thing about musicals is that they don't make sense.
Okay.
And the
just don't
the,
know.
the dance numbers, like I even wrote out like who was in specific dance numbers, and you notice like the way they're designed is to have the different characters have their own songs, and like it's not supposed to make sense with the plot. It's just supposed to be like, this is a number.
The song
This was
would
right
be
before
about them
intermission.
becoming a couple, but it's not.
No, because they just became a couple right before then, and then you bring the whole cast out, and
This
then you
is-
have
yeah.
intermission,
And then everybody
you
goes
come back
fucking
to the
bonkers.
Moment.
Yeah.
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 This was the intermission song, most likely.
I just
Yeah.
wish my company picnics were more like this.
Right? There's no singing
Minus
or dancing at mine.
the, rapey
Yeah.
tree
Yeah.
moment.
Like,
and
I want to
knife
see the
throwing,
food
but
truck people coming out of the food trucks and dancing on top of the food trucks.
Yeah.
You know?
doing
And then I
somersaults
can
down
loot the food
hills.
trucks.
Like, I feel like this dance number went on like 5 minutes too long.
It was long, but the pig squealing was enough to keep me
Yeah.
interested because
No.
the women were squealing like pigs.
So
Yeah.
why?
I don't
it was
know.
weird. They were all like,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like a reference to something in the 50s.
I don't know.
Like, oh.
no. Were they supposed to be
Do the
excited
spine.
or like scared? I don't know.
Maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah, maybe that was it.
I mean,
Necklace
but
You can do
monster.
better, babe.
But who, like, in this, really, who in this,
Right.
like, what, Mr.
Oh,
Hassler,
Hassler, of course.
Sid, glasses, like, I don't know.
I'd be a lesbian.
That's what I wrote down. I was
Yeah.
like, in this world, I would have most certainly. I mean, I'd go out with Gladys. She
Yeah,
seemed
yeah.
all
Yeah,
right.
Gladys
Or
seemed
like,
fun.
what was
Yeah.
that girl who liked beer? I feel like we'd have a lot in common.
Oh,
What was
yeah.
her name? The one who liked all the free beer.
What was her name?
I don't
know.
have her
I don't
name
think
written
they
down.
ever
I
said
feel like
it.
her and I would really hit it off.
Yeah.
We'd go on beer tours together.
There you go.
They didn't have those back
So
then.
wait,
did
they've only been together for like what, a week? Didn't he mention at the
Yeah.
beginning like, oh, after the picnic a week ago?
Doodle-doo.
And already like, yeah, we're
They're
like
already
talking about
they're in
love.
love.
Yeah.
There is
Well,
one-
they were talking
things
about
move
love
fast.
like 5 seconds
Yeah.
after she met him.
There is one line where she says, "You don't know me," and I'm like, "Let's talk more about that."
yeah,
Like,
right?
The
Yeah.
realest thing anybody has said in this movie.
But I guess that's not the point of this
Nope.
movie. You know, the point is the
Fantasy.
Men
yes,
and
the
women get
fantasy.
together.
Yeah. In
In
the
the
dark
Pajama
always.
Game.
Also, in the dark always. Like, we have to turn off the lights. You notice he did that in the scene as
Yeah.
well. Like,
Oh,
we
yeah.
always have to turn off the lights.
I don't want to look at you.
Oh, I would want to look at him like when you take that collar off and it's just like head straight into body, just like terrifying.
Complete line, no definition
God, it would just be
whatsoever.
awful. I wouldn't
He's
wanna
like
see
one
him
of
with that
those
shit
like
on.
he's like one of those Lego block men.
Yeah, exactly. His head just sits directly on his shoulders. Oh my God.
He's like a child's. He's like a child's drawing of a man.
Yes. Oh my God.
So the very next scene is supposedly after a date. They come home in his car and they do a song called "There Once Was a Man," which I have to say is one of my favorite songs ever. Like I love this song, and
I just want to say that man and woman do not rhyme. That's not a rhyme, actually. That's just the same word, and it's not a rhyme.
Man who loved a woman.
No, I was like, what is this? That's not a rhyme. Like, come on, writers. Think a little harder. Like, try harder than that.
what did I say? There once was a man who loved a girl.
Okay,
don't know,
Doris
just-
Day looks fucking fierce in that yellow shirt, though.
Yes, her outfit was
Fierce.
amazing. I was like, I want to go buy that outfit.
But did you
right
notice how the
now.
choreography was very violent too? Like both of them were
Yes.
like punching
She
and
punches
him,
kicking
she's
and
like
slapping.
falling down over the railing, and he's
Yeah.
all of the song, the whole song was kind of about like these doomed relationships. Like, I mean, I guess Adam and Eve stuck it out for what, 500 years? I don't know. I didn't
Yeah.
read
And
the
the
Bible. I'll be honest with you. But
Trojan War,
right?
Helen
The
of Troy.
Trojan War, like, but it's like all these like sort of like relationships, stormy relationships throughout history. Like, it's not like, you know, happy
Yeah.
couples.
Yeah.
You know, everything seems to be really violent and high stakes.
Yeah.
And then the workers decide to do a slowdown.
Right. So they start working slowly.
But
Very
comically
slowly.
slow.
Yeah,
comically
slow.
slowly.
Yeah.
And Sid comes in and yells at them to work faster, and basically like threatens to fire them if they don't work faster. So they work faster. Babe jams some fabric into her machine, which is somehow connected to all the rest of the machines, and like blows the system or something.
Why is she sewing? And why not just strike? Like, I mean,
Well, they were trying to avoid striking was
Okay.
the thing, I think.
but I feel like working slowly is like the same thing, right? Kind of.
Yeah, I think that the idea was that they were worried they were going to get fired if they stroked.
They stroked.
So they wanted to like create like a scene. And then he comes and he's like, you're fired. And she looks like she didn't think he would actually fire her.
Right.
But I also thought like, well,
He didn't give it a second thought, though. There was no, at least in this performance,
Yeah.
there was no conflict. I didn't feel like
Yeah.
he was just like, "You're fired."
But I feel like he probably like, and we see later on that he doesn't think that this will affect their relationship. Like he fires her and is just like, of course we're gonna still go out. Like I just have control over you.
Kind of looked triumphant in that moment too, though. At the same time, like I thought that she was kind of also just like, yeah, I'm gonna get fired for this. That's fine. And like walks out like I'm doing what I need.
I
to
need
do.
a
She like
vacation
cries
anyway.
though,
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
She's like in tears.
I mean, I would have too, but
The next scene is a rally, and this is where Gladys and two dudes do steam heat.
This is what happens at a Bernie Sanders rally, right? Everybody puts on the bowler hats and does a
talent
musical
show.
number.
yeah.
See, I just felt like Steam Heat was like the loosest connection between a plot and
Oh,
a
it was
song
so
ever.
random.
It
Yeah,
was completely
very
random.
They're like, where should we set this next musical number? I guess at the union meeting. Like they said something about unions at one point, but it was obviously about
Oh, I had no idea what they were doing.
like what was
happening.
that? What was it about? What was
don't
it about? Like was it about
it
love?
was-
I don't really know.
No, it was just it
Or
was
passion?
It was Gladys and these guys performing for the rally. So it was just like it was like a rally, and they probably had like some speakers,
But it was about
and then they had
passion.
Right, but the song was
The song
like
itself,
about
yeah.
like love. It was like
Right.
about like I need your steam heat to keep me warm at night. Like
yeah,
And it's like, what does that have to do with
I just
wages?
I wrote down that I would be really ticked off
Specifically.
if I had to sit through that, and I would like had come there to talk about my wages, and they were like, "Don't you sneak out the back now? You gotta watch this."
I mean, is this
You guys
common?
aren't
like,
taking
fuck.
this seriously
Is this
at all.
common at a labor union to have a talent
No.
show?
And I'm like,
I think
"Fuck
this
you."
this number does not belong in the Pajama Game.
No.
and
No.
he later choreographed Cabaret, Chicago. Like that's the kind of like show where this belongs. Like this
Yeah.
is like
Why just didn't understand what this like. I'm as a modern audience member, I'm trying to make the connection between the song and what's happening in the scene, and they don't.
There's no connection.
No connection
Nothing.
at all. But then I became, my interest was piqued again by when they started saying, they told me to shove some coal in your boiler. Anybody hear that? Anyone notice that line? I was like, what? What? I'm sorry, what?
And like the way they said it.
They told me to shove the coal in the boiler. And I was like, what? What?
Say that again.
Is that a euphemism?
Like the way they pronounced it. Just so silly.
In the boiler. I was like, what?
I didn't. I had to listen a few times before I got it.
All right. So they sing a number that was super relevant to unions. They decide to sabotage the pajama factory in order to get their point. Like they decide they're not going to strike, but
They're going to sabotage
they're
by
gonna
not sewing the buttons on.
right. They're going to sew the buttons on incorrectly.
That'll show.
They're at Babe's house or Babe's pop's house. Okay, so Sid comes in. He doesn't understand
He
whether.
comes in and he says, "Why did we get all balled up?"
And he
And
says,
I'm like,
"What kind of queen are you anyway?" And I'm like, "What? What kind of a queen am I?"
Well, he seems all backed up, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Gastrointestinal. Backed up.
Need some prunes.
Yes.
Well, and then she storms out, right? And
She
then he
says,
stays
"I
there
warned
with the
you."
stamps. And then she sinks into the mirror. And I
Well,
was
first she
wondering when that
tells
was gonna
him to
happen.
watch those hands, Tycoon,
Ugh,
which
Oh,
is
yeah.
the phrase I'm going to use
And
from
she
now
says,
on.
"I warned you." And I'm like, "Yeah, you did. Like, listen to her."
I liked the lighting in this
Oh,
scene.
I
It was
hated
the most.
the lighting in this
I
scene.
actually thought it looked it kind of looked like an Italian horror film to me. So it had this like sort of Dario Argento like blues and reds thing, and I was like,
Yeah.
nice. It's like this like red light district. It didn't seem thematically appropriate.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I thought it was
Railroad
the
It
most.
thing.
seemed like West Side
Yes.
Story. It seemed like the scene after like Bernardo was killed, and Anita's
Yeah.
like,
She's like,
"A boy like that."
yeah, exactly. That's how I felt too. I was like, that red light is fucking bright. I do not like it.
It was very startling.
was
And I was like, is
weird.
that just a cheesy effect? And then I realized that the railroad thing was right outside
railroad.
her.
Yeah, they
the
like
window.
live on a railroad.
Yeah.
She literally lived on the wrong side of the track.
Like, I don't understand why she's upset about him. I don't understand why they're in
Well,
love.
I feel like again, if they had chemistry,
Right.
maybe we would. Like if
Yeah.
it was like Doris Day and Hugh Jackman, wouldn't that be a pairing? I
Keep
feel
going
like
back
we
to the
would-
Hugh Jackman.
Hey, if Hugh
think we
Jackman,
know.
Yeah,
I mean
and
that
I-
guy can sing and dance his way into my heart anytime.
I also think that was supposed to be like her first love, you know, like the first guy that she
looks
loved.
like she's in her
seems-
30s.
I know,
Right, I know, but like
I
just
know.
based on the first song and everything, like that's how the feeling that I
Yeah.
got was like
Ew,
this was supposed to be
that
like
is
her
so
first
creepy.
love, and she's very upset about it
Right.
ending in this way.
Yeah. So then Sid uses sexual harassment to get the key from Gladys,
Yeah.
who's got
Tries
the
to
key to the
flirt with her.
books.
Yep. Because he wants to check the books to make sure that they actually can't afford the 7.5 raise.
Well, I think he wants to look
Intentions are
for
good, but-
evidence. Yeah.
Yeah, but
his way of
also
going about it is
he just,
But
like,
the road to hell is paved with good
Yeah.
intentions.
I mean, he was like flirting with her, which was icky. But then, like,
Yeah.
she
He
starts
flirted
coming on to
back.
him, and he's like, and he like
Yeah.
froze.
and then she suggests they go to this like weird sex club.
Fernando's that away
It's not
where
a sex,
you.
though. It's like a
terrifying.
bar.
Whatever.
Yeah, but
It
it's like
was
a place where you can
terrifying.
do naughty things in the dark, apparently, but your mom
Yeah.
won't see you.
Yeah.
place where you have to light a match to go in,
Yeah.
and it's well lit. It's
Oopsie.
you can see,
Yeah,
and then
but
you
the-
blow it out once you come into the room.
The reason I thought it was so creepy was because the whole scene was done in total blackness.
I
with
feel like
just a
Corey's
match,
gonna
and I
wake
was
up
like,
in the middle of the night. Oopsie.
Oh my God.
Oh my
that's
God.
So funny.
It was terrifying. I was just like, where have we just gone in this movie?
I liked
we're
it
in
just
a
because it was
dungeon.
different.
I did too. I needed
Yeah.
something different.
Yeah.
I felt like she was trying to take him to a dungeon, and I was like,
It was
very
like it was a little
off-put.
bit of a sex dungeon.
It was
Yeah.
like a
touch.
cantina.
But it seemed like they were only there to like. It was like that was a place where it's okay to ogle each other. Like you can't
Yeah.
go to the soda shop and like.
right.
Yeah.
But
That's
yeah,
where you go to
everyone
drink-
they knew
it's where you go to
was
drink
hanging
alcohol.
out there.
I know that was the thing that confused me too. They were like, "No one will recognize you at Hernando's hideaway," and then I was like, "Every fucking person is here."
This is
the entire
everyone's
hideaway
friend is
ever.
here.
The
There's
worst
really
hideaway.
nowhere else to go except the bowling alley.
It's not even like out of town apparently because everyone's there. It's like everyone's weekend activity. Going fucking
Yeah.
public. I don't know.
It's like go have a tiki cocktail and get a handy under the table.
The duet kind of dance between Gladys and Sid at the top of this, though, is that's Bob Fosse style, that kind of like tango-y
I
kind of
liked
look.
that. Gladys was so fucking drunk.
So drunk.
Scene. It was so funny. I was like, been there, girl. Been there.
Right. So
like, is this
Gladys
gin?
gets
You're
wasted.
right.
She's like doing shots, which I didn't know they did in the 50s.
And he
It
says,
was
I'm going to
hilarious.
get you fried and get that key. And I'm
It's
like,
so
you-
creepy.
Like, why are you talking?
So
Every line, every word that comes out of your mouth is fucking creepy.
But so his plan is to get his girl back by taking advantage of another girl, which everyone is going to find out
stealing
about.
her key and spying on his boss.
Well, that part's
But
not a bad
he
idea,
doesn't
but-
even end up having to steal it because he just fake cries and she's like, oh, I'll feel better. Here's the key.
Well, he gets her wasted enough that she kind of gives him the key.
Yeah, but also I
Yeah.
was just like, why is it that like women will give men anything they want just to make them happy? you
So
know?
he gets her drunk. And then once he gets the key, he's like, peace, and just like leaves her there without any, like she's passed out at the table. There's no regard for how she's going to get home. He like
but
passes her off.
first, we don't want to miss this part. Vernon, before he leaves, walks by and sees them together.
Shakes
You know,
that
shakes
fist.
his fist, walks off, and then Babe and a friend come by
Right.
and like try to warn Gladys that he's on the war path and is out for blood or whatever she says.
Right.
Let's
And-
not call the authorities, though. You need to handle this.
And
On your
Gladys
Right?
is just like, whatever, it's fine. He always has a knife with him and he's always drunk and pissed off. Whatever. No biggie. Well,
Fucked up.
yeah, but Sid sees Babe and like follows her throughout the restaurant, and she like hops into a table and closes the curtains. And he's like, "Oh man, not the curtains! How will I ever find her again? Well, where'd she go?"
He's there with another girl.
I know.
At Johnny's sex club. So
Yeah.
why would she not be like? Why would he think this is an appropriate time to approach her and have a conversation?
I don't know, but
She's not going to be amenable to what you have to say. At this
also,
point.
she just like popped into a four-way behind some curtains and was like, "Sorry, dude, I'd rather be in this gangbang than talk to you about this."
And Vernon runs up to Gladys's table, throws a knife on the table, and calls her a hussy. She says, "Don't touch me," and I'm glad I never married you. And I'm like,
This is after she
not
was-
like
This is not a healthy
this
relationship.
is not
no,
even
you guys need counseling.
funny.
And
This
before
is-
that even happened, though, Sid asks the creepy glasses guy to take her home, and glasses guy's like, "Oh,
lecherous.
Gladys,
It's
I'll
like-
take her home, all right."
Like it's like,
like,
does
oh
no one care
God.
about this poor drunk woman's safety?
I know,
He's
she's
like, well, I've
passed out on
got
the
what I
table.
want, and he's like, here, bro, you take her home and do whatever you want with her. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't believe this is happening.
I'm
like,
just
in
glad
this
I didn't see her like
family
slung over his
friendly,
shoulder, dragging
right,
her out.
right.
Like, ugh.
I guess violence against women is hilarious because it's again, it's played for comedy. That he's like, oh, I'll take you home, and she's like, she passes out on the table
Right.
again, and I'm like, I'm not okay with this.
No,
Yeah.
doesn't feel quite right.
No, and then her friends also just leave her passed out, this drunk
Right.
on the table, and I was like, "Come on, there's girl code here. You take your
Girl
friend
code
home."
was apparently not in effect. Not in
dear
effect in this movie.
And then Sid talks to Babe alone. Babe is mad about Gladys. And he says, meet me after the rally tonight. And she's like, I can't. I have a date. And he's like, well, that's that. And then
Yeah.
she says, I'll break it.
You shouldn't,
And
though.
I'm like, no.
No,
Keep your date.
You should keep that date,
Yeah.
unless he's worse than Sid.
yeah, which he might.
In which
It's
case,
Hassler.
Oh, God.
And then this is where Vernon chases Gladys to the storeroom with the knife.
this was one of the most
It's
disturbing scenes
terrifying.
I've ever seen
This is where
in a
this
film.
movie just gets completely nutburgers. I was like, "What the fuck just happened? Did we just step into like a Friday the 13th movie?"
but
like,
it's
when did we
played for
become-
comedy.
Yeah.
like
Is
Definitely
it?
played for comedy. Yes.
yes,
That
it
was
is
supposed to be funny.
absolutely
Definitely
played for
I
comedy.
was just terrified. For
All right,
Gladys.
so
the
it-
shrieking, like the really dramatic shrieking that she was doing, it was
And
Okay,
a funny
yeah.
So
shriek,
for people
but-
that have not, who are listening to the show, that have not seen the Pajama Game and that don't plan to, which I honestly can't. I don't blame you. Yeah. Vernon approaches his girlfriend and he's like basically chasing her around the factory with a knife that he is throwing at her. Multiple knives that he is throwing, and they are sinking into walls near her, and she's screaming and running away, and it's supposed to be funny.
This is why they had the knife throwing scene at the picnic.
I know. It's like they planted the seed. I get it.
Chekhov's gun.
Right.
Yep.
So, but and then everyone else, like Sid and Hassler and everybody is like, Gladys, so what are you freaking out about? Like they're acting like this is something that she's being over dramatic about. And it's like, no, he's throwing fucking knives at her. And these guys are supposed to be the comic relief.
And it's not. It's just scary. I worry.
Yeah.
Domestic violence is hilarious.
Then Hassler seems to think like, oh wow, the knives are being thrown out. Like, oh, scared. Who is it? And then he thinks that there's
union.
It's him.
Thinks that it's some, and then Vernon comes in. And he's like, Vernon, be careful. There's a guy with a knife. Like no reaction. There's no
He's just like, oh well, she probably deserved it.
I mean,
end of commentary.
frankly,
there.
Guys, stop horsing around and get back to work.
Exactly. So I feel like the movie generally was painful, but it was almost worth it to sit through for this disturbing gem of cinema history. Like I did not know a thing like this existed in the world.
now you know.
I suddenly understood like the machine that was built against me from the time I was born. Like this movie was what, like 70 years ago?
Yeah.
Or 80 years ago? I'm
Can't do
36, so it would have been
Right, I'm saying 59 years.
Yeah, 59 years.
right. So it wasn't that long ago. Like, let's take a moment to think about this. It was not that long ago that it was considered comedy for a guy who suspected his girl of being with somebody else when they weren't even together to throw knives at her. Like, that was comedy.
Yeah.
Take that in.
That blew my mind.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
So, yeah. Anyway, moving on.
And then we have the song.
So we have the
7.5
song,
cents.
7.5 cents. Here's where I want to readdress the union thing. So the song is about all these, what I consider to be frivolous things that these people want. Like, they're like, basically like, if I get 7.5, first of all, they seem dumb because they're like, I figured it out. I got a pen, a paper, and I took a pencil and I put it on the paper. And they're like singing this song. And they're like, in 5 years time, I'll have like $50 or whatever it is that they have. And they're like, you know, like the things that they say that they want to buy are like
40-inch TV.
40-inch TV, a trip to France. I want to be the Sultan. At one point she says I can buy gold-plated paddles for my ping pong table.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like this is the ultimate vision of the inaneness of asking for a raise, when in reality, like, people want raises so they can
Feed their children.
feed their kids, or, you know, pay their mortgage, or send their kids to college, or get
Like save for
or
retirement.
get their appendix taken out. I don't know, but it's like the way that they're portrayed as being like, I want to go to France and I want an airplane. Like, it seems like, you know, they're really making the fight that these people have for higher wages to be ridiculous and stupid and petty, I feel like.
People did not think that stuff was stupid. That was like the pinnacle of like success.
True, but I think the reality of what they probably wanted that money for was probably
Well, they already
not.
had that money. I'm saying that the 50s was an economically stable time. Like that was like when people had money and were able to take care of their kids.
But did the average Joe working at the pajama factory? I don't know. Like, I think that these people seem to be of a stable class, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I still hear people today, and again, I'm not trying to get into some kind of political argument, but I feel like people today are still complaining that when people want fair wages for you know, living wages, so they don't have to work three jobs.
It's different now because now we're not making living wages, but in the 50s that they were.
That was probably the last time the minimum wage was raised.
Yeah.
It just seems like this is an argument that carries over today. That people asking for more money are probably asking it for frivolous things that are just not working hard enough.
Yeah.
And so I'm just not sure like how realistic that is. Like, is that true? Like, were these people asking for money already stable, or was this what Hollywood wants to say about people that are asking? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I just think it's amazing that with just $3,000, you can be a sultan.
Yeah.
right?
So,
The
And
price
this
of
is
becoming
like-
a sultan has
Yeah.
truly
This is
inflated over
like
the years.
Oh, yeah.
inflation. This is like horrifying. Like how, when I was listening to this, I was like, what? Our inflation is so bad.
For
Like,
$1,000, I could get a fucking helicopter and a trip to France and, you know, 5 servants.
No,
I mean,
well,
really?
I didn't understand. Were they saying like I could get all of these things, or one of these things for a theft?
I don't know. I
$1,000?
didn't quite understand.
My only comment on this was that she did the whole thing in slingbacks and everyone else on stage was in character shoes. And I was like, that's pretty amazing.
That's fucking boss.
She did that in backless shoes. Nice.
Doris Day.
Doris Day is a
Everyone
boss.
else is wearing character
She
shoes.
is.
Oh my God.
So this
shoes.
is like near the end of the movie.
Yeah, I mean,
The very abrupt ending.
Cut
And
to
they, like,
Hernando's
make out in the
hideaway
car.
where it's a pajama parade.
is that where that was?
Yes,
it was in the daytime,
recognize
or
the
was it?
set.
It was not in.
They reused
It was
that
not in the
set.
dark, so I felt like it was. I thought it was meant to be at the pajama
Same.
factory.
That's what I
was
thought
like,
too. I thought it
where's
was
the name of a runway?
I thought they created
it
some kind
it
of,
was
like-
that same set. It might have been supposed to be somewhere else, but it was definitely the Hernando's
It seemed like a
set.
bedroom sort of harem thing that they added to
Yeah.
the pajama factory as an extension. Now that they have a raise, that's what I thought.
And it was weird. And of course, she wasn't wearing any pants.
Well, it was
Yeah.
he was wearing the pants and no shirt, and she was wearing the shirt and no pants. And the line was, "Being married is twice as fun. Like you
2 for 1.
to get something." And
I guess
forget what it is,
They
but it's
share
like
pajamas.
you share pajamas basically when
so
you're
he's
married.
wearing the bottoms and she's wearing the tops.
That
Yes.
seems like a horrible marketing strategy if you're trying to sell more pajamas.
Yeah, you probably want to sell twice as many
Yeah.
pajamas.
You should be like, you should cover your dirty
Well,
body.
I imagine that.
now that you're
I'm
having
imagining-
sex.
I imagine that the pajamas they generally sell do not have the right neck dimensions for someone with a neck that size.
Yeah, that's true. They probably couldn't put him in a shirt because they were like,
You just-
he'll just disappear
But,
inside
like-
it because he has no neck. He'll just
This
fall
is
inside
this
the
is the
shirt.
thing I hate about old movies. Like I love a lot of old movies, but I hate how like it ends with like
It's like a Shakespeare comedy.
It's like you have to end with them getting married. You don't even have to see the wedding. You just have to know that they're married now.
It could have ended with a pajama wedding, and I think I would have enjoyed that. Again, I
would
was
have enjoyed a
disappointed
pajama
by the
wedding.
lack of pajamas.
Yeah.
I did
I
not
was
get enough
I was
pajamas in the pajama
expecting
game.
pajamas.
I mean, you were expecting them to wear pajamas.
I was expecting more pajamas to
They-
be
they were making
front and
pajamas?
center. Were they? I saw a lot of fabric.
Right,
I
and I
didn't
saw
see
the
a lot of
steam.
pajamas.
The steam in the pajamas.
Like I really expected there to be more pajama numbers.
It's about the
Yeah, me
game,
too.
Nicole. It's about the game.
I expected them to be
when you
wearing
play the
more
game of
pajamas.
pajamas, you win or you die.
I would like to
I mean,
see a reindeer games and pajama game mashup.
I would love that. Ben Affleck.
Yep.
I mean,
The
like
pajama
at least it wasn't
reindeer
called
game.
7.5 cents. Can you imagine
Reindeers
someone
wearing
going,
pajamas.
someone going to see a musical called 7.5 cents?
No, but it
I
would
would
have been more
expect-
appropriate as a title.
I would expect to pay 7.5 cents for that. Then I'd be okay
Well,
with it.
what would it be besides the pajama game? Like
I would say
fucking creep.
let's laugh at domestic violence. I think that's a domestic violence har 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 would be a good.
That's an awesome title.
Yeah, that would be a good
Domestic
one.
violence, har har har. It's a great production this
So
weekend.
This summer.
oh, we didn't mention though that Vernon and Gladys come out in prison
yes.
pajamas,
Yes.
that
handcuffed
seems
to each
appropriate.
other.
Yep.
They are together still
But
after the
in
incident.
pajamas that look like prison clothes, implying like I don't know, did he go to jail? Did she go to jail? Are they planning to go to jail? They're handcuffed together.
Did they commit
Is
a murder
there-
together?
This is a
Is-
prequel to Bonnie and Clyde.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is
What
is,
I-
is their relationship like a prison? I mean, is
what I'm
that
taking
what's
away from
going
this
on?
is that they're still together even
Yes.
after he did that.
Yeah, I
Like, I
think that's
don't
absolutely
understand.
the case.
Oh, ball and chain.
Okay, final thoughts on the pajama game, Hillary.
I think the costumes were amazing.
Yes.
That's it. I probably wouldn't watch that again. There are a lot of issues I had with it, but the costumes were amazing, and
Yeah.
I want to wear all the A-line dresses that were in that.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Totes.
I've always had a problem with this movie. I still have a problem with it, multiple problems, and I think it's silly, but not entirely as fun as it should have been.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was they were trying to make it fun, but it was like a little frightening
Yeah.
at times.
Indeed. Morgan.
Hated it. Hate's a strong word, but I would never watch it again. No. I
Yeah.
was definitely like sending a Snapchat in the middle of it, like shooting one of the musical numbers and like
I want to see that Snapchat.
just say, is this
Can we get that
is this
Snapchat?
real? Is this real?
Is this real life?
But we got through it together and I'm really
We
proud
did.
of us.
We came out on the other side.
We did. And I think we've learned some things about
Yeah.
1950s culture and
Indeed.
how
Learned a lot.
blessed we are for not living in such an oppressive time.
Yeah,
I
for
feel
sure.
grateful.
Me too.
Gratitude. That's where I left. I left with
I left
gratitude.
gratitude that the movie was over.
Yep.
And then I didn't have to watch it again. A couple of things. I was surprised at, and again, this is something I kind of came to the second time watching, because the first time I was just like, no. The second time I was watching it, I actually appreciated that Doris Day's character did not at any point compromise on her principles. Like she came in there and said, "This is my job. This is what I care about. I'm not going to change for you, and I'm not going to give up on what I want." I think that's rare. I think that's something I would have not expected from a movie from the 1950s.
True.
So I appreciated that. I think that's probably the most redeeming quality of the film. I think the way men were portrayed in the movie and the way aggression and violence towards women were portrayed were quite disturbing. And I feel like, to sum up, this movie was equal parts boring and disturbing.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
With some LSD thrown in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm so excited! I'm so excited! I'm so scared!
Welcome to Nervous Breakdowns. Ordinarily, in this segment, we read bad casting breakdowns. The casting breakdowns, of course, for those of you who don't know, are casting notices, what people are looking for when they're looking for an actress, and we usually read the worst ones we can find. Today, we have we decided to shake it up a little bit. So we've got two things for you. One, Sarah has brought in a review from the movie, The Pajama Game, from the 1957 movie. So this was a review that was period correct from the time period. And it gives you kind of insight into the way that the women were sort of viewed, the actresses were viewed at the time. So take it away, Sarah.
Okay, this first thing I'm going to read, the director, Stanley Donen, said, "I wanted the original cast to do it, but Doris was wonderful, energetic, and lovable. It's the best thing she's ever done. I also liked Janice Page, who was something quite different. She was made of iron in that part. Had you been able to see her in a movie close up, she would have been so tough that you wouldn't have been able to love her, to think she was vulnerable."
So the original actress that played that character on Broadway was not cast because she would have been too tough.
Too tough.
You got the camera too close to her.
And then this is the reviewer commenting on some of the other cast members. Okay.
So this is a review from the 1950s about this film.
There is John Raitt playing and singing the remarkably virile role of the hard-hitting superintendent of the Pajama Factory in Dubuque, Iowa. There is Eddie Foy Jr. reproducing the time control manager Hines. And
time control manager, that's what he was.
And Rita Shaw as big as life, and that's big, as the office secretary. Ralph Dunn is still here as the president. Thelma Pellish is May, the porky seamstress.
Oh, May.
And Miss Haney as well. She's still just grand.
Yeah, seems a rather derogatory. Porky. Seemed like a rather derogatory description of the majority of the cast, except for Sid, who is described as virile. Which the thought, it's like, has good at reproducing, ladies. He's out
remarkably
there
virile,
spreading his seed all over this town.
Whenever I hear the phrase
Steer,
virile, I
steer,
just picture
exactly.
a person like ejaculating on everything they come in contact with. Just like everything is just like getting slimed around them constantly. I hate the word virile.
Yeah.
No. I don't want his
that's
sperm anywhere
from
near
the
me.
original
Like a
1957.
Spider-Man shooting it out of his wrist. It's just like it like flies out at inopportune moments.
Oh man.
The time control manager. I feel like that's like the wife is like, what do you do? What do you do again? I'm the time control
That's
manager.
not even a real name. It's like the grievance committee. It's like, what is that?
It's like, this guy's a drunk. Let's just give him a title and let him boss some ladies around.
Yeah. I'd like to be the time and space control manager.
Yeah. Here we go. Now we're talking.
All right, welcome to Plug It Up. In this segment, we're going to talk a little bit about some things that we've got going on that we would like you to listen to or watch. Morgan.
Hey guys. I am currently working on a web series called Brain Suds. Still working on the first episode right now, but just keep an eye out for it.
It looks very funny.
It's fun. It's a kind of a warped children's show.
The set looks amazing.
Thank you. We worked pretty hard on it in my living room. And then my website is just morganpelligrino.com. Check, there's some funny videos.
Actually, Morgan puts out a lot
She
of funny
does a lot
videos.
of fun, cute stuff.
Yeah.
It's all
Lots of
pretty
fun
weird.
character work. Funny stuff.
Thanks, guys.
Great stuff.
Lots of cats.
And cats, indeed.
Delightful cats.
Sarah.
Okay. Well, I still have Hi Grandma, my short film, available on our Vimeo channel, and Dick Pic Professional is in the can, and I'm trying to find an editor, and so that'll be released this summer, post-production. Yep. So keep an eye out for that.
All right. So I am doing the 1 Minute Play Festival in Atlanta this year.
We are too. Sarah
We are
and I
too.
also.
Yeah, I forgot to plug
Sarah
that.
and Nicole are both doing it. Nicole is acting in my clump.
I'm in your clump.
And I'm also directing one of her plays for my clump.
Yep.
In the 5th annual
Sarah's
Atlanta
got a
1
couple
Minute
of
Play
plays.
Fest. Yeah.
And other clumps.
The performances are June 12th and 13th. That's a Sunday and a Monday. Both performances are at 8 p.m. and tickets are $20.
I believe you can buy tickets at actorsexpress.com.
Yeah, I believe tickets are at actorsexpress.com. More information about the play festivals, 1minuteplayfestival.com. They do have a Facebook event, which is
It's actually a really
Atlanta 1
excellent
Minute
event.
Play
This is the
Fest.
5th annual.
5th annual
1
in
Minute Play
Atlanta,
Fest.
and it's great. It's a lot of fun. I've done it twice now.
150 plus artists involved, like actors,
165
directors,
plus.
playwright, 165 plus. There's a lot of people involved, and bigger than any year before.
I've done
Yeah,
the
I
third
got
annual.
I remember
was in
you
the
were
third.
great. Yeah.
Well, thanks.
I got the numbers recently. It's I think it's 14 directors.
For those of you who
maybe
don't know
50
what the 1 Minute
playwrights.
Play Fest is, it is, literally just a bunch of 1 minute plays. Playwrights turn in 1 minute plays. Directors are kind of randomly assigned on plays. They have a group of actors. So there's like, I think 14 clumps, and that's basically like 14 groups.
Actually, I think there are only 13 clumps,
13,
but
okay.
there are 14 directors.
Okay, so there's 13 groups. Each of them gets roughly 10
Actually,
or
this
so.
year it's
seven.
Seven
plays. And then each of those plays is 1 minute each. And so you just get a bunch of plays back to back, and some of them
about
are funny, some
120
of them are
minutes.
dramatic. It's a really unique experience, and it's plays that you've never seen before and will never see again.
Yeah.
It's pretty
I
amazing.
think there are 90 1 minute plays being performed. So I think it's about a 90 minutes, not 120. I was wrong with that. But I
but
think
there'll
it's
be
about
probably
90
some
minutes.
kind of intermission.
Yeah, there's definitely an intermission.
It's rad.
A
Check it
roller
out.
coaster ride of emotions. All these
Indeed.
different themes and
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah, it's usually
and
lots of sort of current themes, and it's great.
Yep, and that's June 12th and 13th at 8 p.m.
Indeed.
It's a Sunday, Monday.
All right. I would like to plug 80s Dating Video Remix, which as of this recording will have been on the web for a week. All of the people at this table are in it. Morgan is in it. Sarah's in it. Hillary's in it. I am in it. Hillary and I wrote and directed it. It's going to be on our Vimeo channel. It's going to be on our YouTube channel. You can find out more about it on criticalcroptop.com. It's funny, guys. Please go check it out. Okay, so that's pretty much all we've got for Plug It Up today. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Thank you, Morgan, for joining us to
Thank
talk
you.
about Pajama Game.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you.
Sorry for putting you guys through that.
Sarah, I will get you back for this.
I feel like I'm stronger as a person now.
It's information. It's education.
Yep.
I feel
not enough
educated.
pajamas, not enough games.
It's an experience that
Honestly.
everyone that I love that needs to have.
I didn't think it was possible for a character to be less appealing than Oliver Barrett, but somehow Sid manages it.
He's worse than all of the ones combined.
All of them.
Combined.
Indeed. All right. Thanks everybody for listening to this podcast. You can find more of our content on criticalcroptop.com. Please check us out on Facebook. Subscribe. Leave us a review or rating. That would be excellent. We're on Stitcher. We're on SoundCloud. We're on iTunes. Drop us a line or send us your nervous breakdowns to femininemistakepodcast@gmail.com.
Love you.
I think you're okay.